is Friday, right? It's gotta be Friday. It's so weird to skip a week. Yeah, it's so strange to skip a week. I don't do that often. Not like anything's happening. I mean, we're post E3. Nothing fucking happens post E3. Wow, rumors of a new Resident Evil game. Oh, wow. Surprise, surprise. That's happening. Who would have seen a new Resident Evil game coming? Okay, that's next week. I was like, I know that's coming up, but I had no idea where. Oh, gosh. Oh, we can just listen to the rest of the cast. Okay, Pick and Splatfest theme. Palace is just stupid. That's just stupid. I do like swimming. I haven't done it in a long time, but I am a swim fan. But no, theme park, man. Like, I ain't no Disney theme park person, right? I don't run in one of those Disney theme park biker gangs. But, man, I like Defunctland. Also, Cartman Land. Yeah, fuck yeah, we're going to theme park. Yeah, we'll have our very own Cartman Land. And you can't come. Oh. Oh, yeah, there are special summer masks. I'll have to remember to get those. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I haven't played this game in like 2 weeks, man. I'm rusty. So, yeah, we missed a week. I'll be honest, we missed nothing. We're post E3, post Summer Games Fest. Excuse me, princess. So, yeah. Anything happened in the last week? It was my birthday. Woo! That means nothing. Honestly, who cares? I'm now... Okay, there's a Patton Oswalt bit about how you only get like 25-ish birthdays, where, right, you get the first few, right, you get like the first 10 years, then you skip 11 and 12, then you get 13, I can't remember if you get 14, but you get like 15 and 16, you don't get 17, but you get 18, you don't get 19, you get 20, and obviously you get 21. But then after 21, birthdays don't matter anymore. Like, who cares? Oh, wow, it's your 27th birthday. Who cares? At a certain point, birthdays don't matter anymore. Except for the decades, right? 20, 30, 40, 50. Those are the only ones that matter. And I'm kind of like, yeah, woo, you know, maybe I'll have most birthday, maybe I'll go out to like a restaurant, or, right, maybe I'll have like a slice of cake, like I had a strawberry shortcake. And it was pretty decent. But, right, birthday, who cares? It's current year, right? Who cares? Right, I'd rather not be reminded of my mortality once a year, even though I constantly am. So, yeah. But I, of course, did do something actually pretty big. It's the reason why the stream didn't happen last week. But it's kind of unrelated to everything else. Kind of. Like, it being my birthday just kind of happened to be, like, a coincidence more than anything else. So, yeah. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Vegas in a little bit. We have one news story tonight. About the Nintendo Switch 2. Right? Every week there's got to be Nintendo Switch 2 news. And this week is no exception. Right? Some things never change. So we do have the Nintendo Switch 2 news. We will talk about it, of course. That's our one news story. And then I've got a bunch of WIBE things. I saw a movie finally. I played some games. We'll talk about Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I did give that a good playthrough, so we'll talk about that. And then we will talk about a few other things. Got some TV. We have to talk about My Adventures with Superman. Like, my gosh, that show was so good. And I haven't talked about it at all. So we gotta talk about that. So we'll talk about My Adventures with Superman. And then we have a few other things. Tears of the Kingdom update, of course. We've got... I saw a movie. I saw A Quiet Place Day 1. We'll talk about that. And other things. And we'll end off talking about Vegas, because I'm going to save that for the end. So, I would say it's going to be a short show. It's not. You know me. I could talk your fucking ears off for days and days and days. So, yeah. So, let's get into things with with Switch 2. So, this report comes from IGN, or at least my source is IGN. And they basically did an interview with Nintendo. And, right, Nintendo says the most effective strategy to stop Switch 2 scalpers is by producing enough units to meet demand. They are also considering other measures that can be taken to the extent allowed by laws and regulations, taking into account the circumstances of each region. At this time, they don't believe Switch 2 production will be significantly impacted by the semiconductor shortage, which has been resolved. So to break that down, basically the first part is, right, their goal is scalpers won't scalp consoles if they make so many of them that scalpers can't buy them all up. Admittedly, I will admit, I'm a little hesitant by that approach. Right, the idea is that, oh, well, if we just make enough of them so that way everybody gets one, scalpers won't scalp them. That's not how that works, kind of. That just means scalpers will buy more. Because, you know, somehow scalpers have infinite pockets to buy 300 Switches, because, fuck, man, like, ugh. Capitalism hellscape. I mean, what else is new? But, you know, if the idea is, like, there are so many Switches on the market that scalpers who buy them are unable to resell them, because if you cannot because what makes things like the PS4 or PS5 and the Switch, what made them easily scalpable items is that there were so few of them that scalpers could upcharge $100-$200. God, sometimes even more than that. And, right, people will pay that price. But if Switches are so prevalent that scalpers can't charge that $100 to $200 increase, then yeah, they aren't going to scalp them. Because if there are just enough out there, of course, you know, sometimes things will be made, like, the example I think of is Toad, the Toad amiibo. So in I'm gonna say 15, it was either earlier or later than that. At maybe 2016, 2015, Mario Party 10 came out. And it came out with amiibo support. Yeah, no, that sounds right. And, you know, everybody knew amiibos were rare. Everybody was scalping amiibos. But by that point in, yeah, let's say late 2015, early 2016, people kind of knew, Nintendo themselves knew that, hey, people are buying these things up, people are scalping them, we should make more of them. So when Mario Party 10 and its amiibos came out, they made a bunch of Toad amiibos. Because they know, oh, people are going to try to scalp all these Mario amiibos, so let's just make a bunch of them. And then that's exactly what they did, so scalpers bought up all the Toad amiibos. And Toad became rare. At least for a little bit. Not because they didn't make enough of them, but because everybody thought it was going to be rare. People scalped them and bought a bunch of them, so they became rare just because so many people were, you know, trying to upsell on them. Even though Nintendo had made more than enough, everyone was like, oh, well, hey, look, I found Toad, oh, I'm just going to buy a bunch of these up, right? And I can resell them. Basically, the problem wasn't there of, you know, all the other amiibos that were like, hey, we only made 3 of these things. No, they made plenty of Toads, but people thought they were going to be rare. And I think that's part of Nintendo's plan, is by getting ahead of this, they're saying like, hey, there's no reason for scalpers to scalp this, because we're going to make a shitload of them. If we make so many of them, right, there'll be no point in scalping. And if you make that public information, right, you can't, like, when they made Toad available, they made a bunch of them, and then they didn't tell anybody. By telling everybody, hey, guess what, the Switch 2 is actually going to be really easy to find, then yeah, that gives less incentive for people to scalp them. Of course, when the Switch 2 comes out, if they are very hard to find, that rhetoric will change very quickly. People will start scalping them immediately. But if there are a bunch of them, then yeah, that's not going to be a problem. And to be fair, this according to some rumors, part of the reason the Switch got delayed into 2025 was to make sure that they could make enough consoles to meet demand. Because they didn't want stuff like this. They didn't want what was happening with the Wii, what happened with the Switch, what happened with the PS5, right? Because it was really hard to get a PS5 until probably early last year, right? For about 3 years, it was a pain in the ass to get a PS5. I mean, I was only able to get one because PlayStation, right? I signed up for like a thing, and PlayStation was like, hey, hey, congratulations. You've been picked in our PlayStation lottery. If you want one, now's the time to do it. Right? That's the only reason I was able to get a PS5 within the first year, is because, hey, guess what? PlayStation sent me an email being like, hey, congratulations. You won the lottery. The PS5 lottery. I did not see I think until like January of 23 was the first time I went to like a Best Buy. And it was like, oh wow, there are like 5 of these on the shelves. Right? Like there were more than one just sitting there. I'd never even seen one in a store before that. So yeah, no. Of course, part of the big problem with that was the semiconductor shortage. Right? Bitcoin miners especially. They buy up all the graphics cards, all the semiconductors. Everything uses a semiconductor nowadays. Your car, your microwave, your toaster, right? Everything has to be a smart gadget, so everything needs a semiconductor. And semiconductors were on shortage for a long time. And you know, China has built some new semiconductor plants. Joe Biden, right? Old fart that he is. God, we're not going to talk about politics on this show. I'll just say this. Joe Biden should drop out. My stance is not... Seeing the debate, Joe Biden should drop out. Yep, that's my stance. I'm not going to say anything more than that. You've got time. We have time. We've got 6 weeks. Joe Biden should drop out. That's all I'm going to say about that. But Joe Biden, to his credit, did pass a bill to build semiconductor plants here in the U.S. to encourage more U.S., make new jobs, encourage tech companies to, make more product in the U.S. Genuinely a great move. Genuinely a great move. I'll give him full credit for that one. So yeah, the semiconductor shortage, supposedly it's over. And so, Nintendo, theoretically, they're making Switch 2s right now. They're in production. Just so that way, when the Switch 2 launches, they'll have a crap load of them. Of course, the question is, that then becomes the question, are people going to buy a Switch 2, right? Is what they have good enough to convince people en masse to upgrade from Switch to Switch 2? And we'll just have to wait and see. Right? Does what Joe Biden have enough to defeat Donald Trump? Because I see a lot from these people who are like, no, Joe Biden shouldn't drop out. They make the assumption that Joe Biden, in his current state, can beat Trump. And that if Joe Biden drops out, then that basically guarantees Trump's victory. But I disagree. I don't think Joe Biden can beat Trump at this current moment. With all the Israel-Palestine stuff, I think he's completely fucked. I think he's going to lose this election. I think when it comes to the Congress, right, the Senate and the House of Representatives, I think they're doing pretty good, and I think that those are both going to swing to the left. But the president, no, I think Trump's going to win this as of this moment. Right? Nothing Joe Biden has done has made me assured of that. And yeah, no, that has not changed. If anything, it's demonstrably worse. Okay, enough politics. Can we get away from politics, please? But no, I think these are all good strides. Because one of Nintendo's biggest problem in the past 15 years, God, honestly, it's probably closer to 20 at this point. It'll be 20 in 2 years, so 18 years, has been shortages. Nintendo's never given a shit about shortages. They make as many of a product as they want, and then once they hit that number, that's it. Oh, boom. We made 100,000 Wiis? Good enough. That's all the Wiis we have to make. You know, we'll restock in 6 months. Nintendo has never given a shit about supply. Which has always been my my big point of skepticism, is that Nintendo has never given a shit about supply, and I have almost 20 years of evidence to back that up. Why would they change approach now? Like, there's nothing currently that Nintendo's doing that's like, yeah, now they're gonna be good. No, they've always been horrible with supply. Be that the Wii. Was the DS rare? I don't think the DS was that rare. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was. But the Wii was awful to get. Amiibos, awful. The NES Classic. The NES Classic is still one of the worst product launches Nintendo has ever done. What a colossal fuck-up of monumental proportions. Like, they screwed up Amiibo pretty bad, but they eventually rectified that. Right? Nintendo got good with Amiibo. It just took them like an extra 5 years. The NES Classic, they completely fucked up, and they never rectified it, and God, it breaks my heart. I mean, I did get one eventually, but I got one. There were thousands of people who would have bought one that didn't. They completely fucked that up, and that still pisses me off. Even though I did get one, right, there is still this visceral hatred I have for Nintendo fucking up the NES Classic. But that's just another example. Of course, the Switch had supply issues. There's other shit. What's another? I know some of their, like, limited edition controllers still have supply issues. Like, I know they're limited edition, but, like, when you're printing 20 of them, that's not nearly enough. I'm sure there are other examples that I can't think of off the top. Oh God, don't even get me started on the Super Mario Bros. 3D All-Stars. That's still one of the biggest fuck yous, and that pisses me off so much. Especially because my copy was stolen. And I don't have a copy of that game anymore. Because mine was fucking stolen. Okay, I'm going off. I think if all of this is true, which I see no reason to doubt it, I think Nintendo's on a good spot for the Switch 2. What they really need to worry about now is games, right? Do they have enough game? Because the other reason, supposedly, the Switch 2, which I'm just going to keep calling the Switch 2, I know in the article they call it like the successor to the Nintendo Switch. Very corporate speak, you know. Nintendo's a big fan of that corporate speak. Man, that Jenny Nicholson video about the Star Wars thing, about the Star Wars hotel, where she takes a brief moment to talk about corporate speak, man, she fucking nailed that. Right? How you can tell something's officially licensed by how they use corporate speak, and Nintendo's the king of that. Because they love calling the Nintendo Switch system. Right? Oh, this game is available on the Nintendo Switch family of systems. Like, fucking, oh my gosh, that's some awful corporate speak. Especially because it's so long. That's maybe the word, is that it's such a fucking mouthful. But no, does Nintendo Switch 2 have games? The Switch had games. It had plenty of games, actually. So does the Switch 2 have games? I hope. I'm hopeful. You know, when I know during E3, I kind of made like a few, like, hey, here's a few quick predictions about the Nintendo Switch 2. Nothing's gonna happen. But, you know, I'm gonna write them down. I'm just gonna say them real quick anyways. In the background, I've actually been making a Switch 2 predictions list. And probably in October. So that's a few months away. Like, that's after Echoes of Wisdom comes out. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna do Nintendo Switch 2 predictions. Probably that first week of October. Because I expect the console to be revealed in that month. So we'll talk about that then. But yeah, no, God, and then by this time next year, man, we should all be playing Switch 2. Because if it doesn't come out in March, it's definitely coming out in June. There's no way they wait until October or November for Switch 2. No way. Yeah, anything else in Switch 2? Not at the moment. Nothing at the moment. So, I guess that takes us into WIBE. So, I've actually been playing a few things. Again, it's been 2 weeks. So we've got a few things to talk about. Where do I start? Let's start with, I started Oracle of Seasons. So, one of the only Zelda games I have never played is Oracle of Ages. Because I played Oracle of Seasons and just figured it was like a Pokemon thing where they were both the same game. And this was in like 2014, so I know I could have Googled it. I just didn't. So, but yeah, I played Oracle of Seasons, and then I never played Oracle of Ages. So I've never played that game. And then a few months ago, they both got added to Nintendo Switch Online. And I've just kind of been waiting around, like, I was like, one of these days I'm gonna play them. And, you know, I've been in a Zelda mood recently, so I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's finally play them. I'm gonna start with the one, I want to replay Oracle of Seasons. And then I'm gonna take the code from Oracle of Seasons and move it over to Oracle of Ages and play that one. Because I know Oracle of Seasons is a more combat-focused game, while Oracle of Ages is more of a puzzle-focused game. And I guess the plot like flows better if you play it that way. I don't know all the details, but it makes sense. It makes sense from what I've heard. Oh, come on. So I sat down, I started Oracle of Seasons. I played through the first, like, 3 dungeons. And then, hey, I'm off on my road trip. Oh, well, I didn't play it on my road trip. So, whatever. And then we come back, and, oh, Luigi's Mansion's out. Oh, well, I'm guessing I'm going to play that. So I have not touched it since I did the first 3 dungeons, like, 2 weeks ago. And then I haven't touched it. So, womp, womp, womp. It's fine, you know, or I definitely wish that game had also gotten a remake. I would have loved a remake of the Oracle games, because man, having only 2 buttons, and you have to constantly swap out your sword and your, you constantly have to get rid of your sword or your shield to equip your Ember Seeds or your other weapon whose name I can't think of. What was Power Bracelet or whatever. It's like, yeah, that sucks, right? Like in the Link's Awakening remake, they just make the Power Bracelet like a standard item that you can use. Right? Like, it's just like, you don't have to like select it in a menu. It's just automatic. And it sucks that it took so long for Zelda games to realize that. Because in, like, Link's Awakening and Oracle of Ages and Seasons, it's a separate item that you have to equip, so it takes an extra step. Yeah, it's not water, it's not iron boots in the water temple, levels of extra step, but it's still an extra step that just isn't necessary. And I'm glad they eventually figured that shit out. But it's like, God, I wish there were 2 more item slots. That would have been so nice. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So, yeah. That's all I've done on that. From there, Luigi's Mansion, I sat down. So, Luigi's Mansion 2 came out. But if it wasn't obvious based on some of my recent, like, Nintendo Direct predictions, before Luigi's Mansion 2 came out, I really wanted to replay the original Luigi's Mansion. It's been at least 5 years since I've last played it, if not longer. It's been a long time since I played the original Luigi's Mansion, and I was like, you know what, I really want to play this game again. So instead of busting out a Wii to play it on the GameCube, I picked up the 3DS version. Because I had never played the 3DS port of the original Luigi's Mansion. So I played that, and you know what? It's a pretty decent port. Like, I don't know if it's built around the Luigi's Mansion 2 framework, or what. Because you do have, like, the strobe bulb from Luigi's Mansion 2 is an option if you want that. Or, you know, you just play it like it was originally intended. I don't know what changes were made or not. Like, I don't think they went in and, like, overhauled anything. I think the only thing they've really added is, like, co-op, which I've been told not to play. I've heard the co-op on the 3DS version sucks. But, you know, it's neat that it exists, I guess, you know. But I was like, you know, let's try out the 3DS version. But so I think it's a pretty solid port. Admittedly, they have the option for the strobe bulb, and I was like, you know what, I like the strobe bulb, I'll give that a try. I do not recommend playing the original Luigi's Mansion with the strobe bulb. It did not work as well as I wanted it to. Like, it worked fine, but the default control scheme is just better. There's one other change as well that they make that I don't remember if that's a new thing or if that's in the new game, or, you know, if that's in the original. I honestly don't remember. But I think it's a pretty solid port. It runs well. What's the other thing? The port runs well. Was there one other thing they changed? Oh, they added motion controls. That's what I'm thinking of. There's a lot of motion control stuff in there, which I admittedly kind of forgot. It wasn't until replaying Luigi's Mansion 2. I forgot how much Luigi's Mansion 2 actually uses multiplayer. I'm going to be curious to play 3 again, because I have not replayed 3, but I kind of want to. I'm going to be curious to see how much 3 uses multiplayer, or uses motion controls. Because, like, it's not like super, like, everything needs motion controls. But there's more motion controls in 2 than I thought. And all of that makes its way into the 1 remake. But yeah, no, I think the 1 remake is really solid. I mostly remembered the game. Like, the only point I really got lost, it happened twice. There was one point where you have to, like, go upstairs to do something. And I'll be honest, I just didn't remember, like, what you had to do upstairs. Like, there was some, like, there was something I had to do, and I just could not remember what it was. And then, when the mansion turns to, when the blackout happens, oh, I actually thought of a third thing. So when the blackout happens, you have to go to, like, the foyer or one of the rooms that you've already visited, and there's, like, a new ghost in there. I just completely forgot about that. I did go find it, but, like, my one, I was like, I know you have to go to the basement to turn on the power station. But I completely forgot that you had to, kill the ghost because the power station gets locked. Because, like, you can go into the breaker room very early in the game to find a speedy spirit. And I just kind of completely forgot about that. I forgot, so I think it's not Biff Tannen. The ghost in the gym. I could not remember for the life of me how you defeated it. I thought you had to do something when he, like, lowered the dumbbell and, like, was sweating. I thought you had to, like, use your suck and blow to, like, swing the boxing glove, or the punching bag. No, you can just tap the punching bag with X, and it'll activate, no problem. Completely forgot about that. Honestly, I forgot that you could just tap it. I thought you had to literally swing it with your vacuum, because it will swing with your the push and pull of your vacuum. The other thing I forgot about that I just remembered, the hidden room. I completely forgot about the hidden room that you can find in the butler's quarters. There's like a mouse hole that you can camera into. Just completely forgot about it until like right near the end, until the very end of the game. It was the one thing I kind of had to look up, because near the end of the game, right? So basically, right before fighting the painter ghost, I was like, okay, I have 48 boos. I'm missing 2. One of them is in the painter ghost room, so I must be missing at least one other. And so I looked it up. Oh, it's in the hidden room. Or maybe it wasn't in the hidden room, and I discovered it in a different room, and it actually moved over, like it moved through the wall into the hidden room. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I remembered the thing on the chimney. I remembered that one, but I completely forgot about the butler's hidden room. So that was another thing I've forgotten about. Most of the golden mice and the speedy spirits, I forgot about. Like I know there are like cheeses you could take pictures of. I think I only ever found like 3 or 4 of them. There might not be more than 3 or 4, but those were the only ones I found. Speedy Spirits I did a little better, but not great. I think I gamed overed twice in the entire game. Once to the fat ghost, the one that eats all the food. For some reason I was like, okay, he breathes fireballs. So I was like, oh, maybe you have to, like, spray him with water, because you get the water medallion in the kitchen right next door. And nope, that didn't work, and he killed me. He, like, eventually tires out, and you can just flash him. It's actually a lot less climactic than I remember it. And then there was one other ghost. Oh, I lost to I think I game overed on the final boss. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. I think those were the 2 times that got me. But other than that, you know, I did pretty well. Final ranking, I got like $97 million. If you played Luigi's Mansion, you know to get the A rank, you need to get 100 million. So I was just like 1 sapphire short of getting the A rank. There is also an S rank that you can get through the Hidden Mansion on the 3DS version. I don't remember S rank being in the original. It might have been, but I honestly don't remember. But yeah, no, other than that, I think it took me like 3.5, 4 hours to beat it. Not that long at all. I remembered where the one thing I did definitely remember was the gold diamond that you have to get by watering the plant. I totally remembered how to do that. Right, that was like oh yeah, I remember this. Oh, this takes me back. Gotta water the plant. So yeah, I got both the gold diamonds. I got every boo. But yeah, I definitely missed some speedy spirits and some mice that just barely cost me A rank. Yeah, no, it's honestly, the 3DS port is great. It's still a great little game. It definitely feels like one of those GameCube era tech demos, you know, kind of like the first Pikmin, where it's like, okay, clearly they were testing out some things on this game, but, and you know, it's pretty short because of that. Like, 3 to 4 hours is not that long. Longer than Pikmin 1, which you can beat in like 2. You know, just like if you know what you're doing in Pikmin 1, a casual playthrough is like 2 hours to get all 30 ship parts. Yeah, no, beating it in like 3 to 4 hours, I was like, yeah, that's not bad. And then there's the Hidden Mansion stuff. I think the 3DS port looks good. You know, Luigi's Mansion has always been a series that I think looks good. Even the GameCube game, like, man, I remember seeing that mirror for the first time in... Is it the dancing room? Wherever you see the mirror for the first time. And just being like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Right? Seeing your character reflect. Like, even though it looks all, like, pixelated and whatnot, I still think that was cool. And I love what Luigi's Mansion 2 does with that. Where, like, right, because it brings back mirrors and whatnot. Specifically in the ice area. But yeah, I think the first Luigi's Mansion is still pretty good, right? I still had a great time with it. A lot of fun. So from there, I picked up Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Because I've been a defender of Luigi's Mansion 2. Right? I know there are some people who do not like the game, who do not like the mission structure, feel like it takes too many steps away from what makes the original game so good. And that's why those same people like 3 a lot. Because, you know, 3 feels more of like a return to form compared to Luigi's Mansion 2. But, you know, I thought the mission structure was fine when I played it the first time. I've played Luigi's Mansion 2 at least, I want to say 3 times. This would be my 4th playthrough. Because I actually Let's Played the game. One of the Let's Plays on my original channel was Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. We did it based on levels, way back in, like, again, 2014, 2015. Honestly, maybe even Luigi's Mansion might have come out in, like, 2012 for all I know. I'm pretty sure. It was a pretty early game on 3DS, actually, now that I think about it. But no, there is actually footage of me playing that game online. I do not recommend watching it. It's fucking awful. Like, seriously, the footage is awful. My voiceover is awful. I mean, my voiceover is still awful now. So, you know, some things never change. But no, so, you know, this is at least my first time playing it in, God, at least 6 years? Because I want to say, I can't remember if my Let's Play of the game, I have to guess it was my 2nd ever playthrough. And I know after that Let's Play, I played through Luigi's Mansion at least one more time. Probably before 3 came out. But I don't know when. Like, it might have been in, like, early October of, like, what was it, 2018, 2019, whenever 3 came out. But it also might have been, like, 2016 for all I know. Like, I just know this is my 4th playthrough. So, I will have to be honest here. I still like Luigi's Mansion 2. I still think there are some great moments, a lot of creative ideas. The game's definitely longer than the first Luigi's Mansion, by a good margin, actually. I'd say it maybe, like, doubles or triples the length. Because there's just a lot more to do, I mean, with 5 mansions and everything. But, I will, right, even though I will still defend the game, I definitely am more aware of its problems. Right? I get some of the hatred for the mission structure, specifically in the fact that, like, you'll be doing something, and then the game will just pull you out of the action to go back to the hub. You have to sit through a bunch of cutscenes, only then to be allowed to go back into the mansion again. And yeah, I get that. I get why people don't like that. To be fair, the original game does that as well, but it only does it, like, 3 or 4 times in the entire game. Whereas this game does it anywhere from like 5 to 30 minutes. I think the longest mission took me 30 minutes. Which was, I want to say 5-2. Took me a little bit. But I like exploring 5-2. 5-2 is maybe my favorite mission in the game. So, like, I like to spend a lot of time on that one. Just, you know, having fun, solving puzzles, getting gems, you know, stuff like that. That sounds right in my head anyways. 5-2. But yeah, no, I get some of those complaints. The thing that drove me crazy is how much Luigi's Mansion 2 holds your hand. Like, I genuinely forgot how much Luigi's Mansion 2 holds your hand. Like, literally, you do anything in that game. And here's EGAD calling you up to tell you, like, hey, did you know this? Hey, you should go here. Hey, Luigi, did you think about this? Like, it legitimately is as bad as Skyward Sword. And that sucks, man. Because one of the things that, Nintendo usually does in these remakes is that when people are like, there's too much talking in this game, right? The companions say too much. They should cut that out. They should cut at least some of that out. Nintendo usually listens and does that, right? Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess. People complain that, like, hey, there's too much tutorial. Hey, Fi talks too much. You should, Nintendo should cut some of that out. Or, quicken it up, right? Quicken it. Make it go faster. And they listen, right? Fi is at least slightly less annoying in Skyward Sword HD compared to the original. Yeah, no. I'm assuming it's just because not enough people complained about EGAD in Luigi's Mansion 2 that they did nothing about it. But it's bad. It's bad, man. Like, literally, I interact with, like, an object, and EGAD stops me to be like, oh, hey, you should go to this room next. Oh, wait, what happened here? Oh, you should go here. Instead of just put it on my map and don't tell me. Or even if you want to tell me, let me move around while he's talking. Don't stop the game, make me pull out my dual screen, and, talk to EGAD for a few seconds, before being allowed to play the game again. Right? Every time EGAD interrupts you, it completely freezes you in your tracks. And that sucks. And it happens so frequently. The game holds your hand so much. And it kind of, especially around like the third mansion, I was going crazy. He does, he gives you a little bit more freedom near the end of the game. Once he's felt like he's, as the little ducky that you are, once he's guided you through everything, right? Especially in those last few levels in like 5-2, he gives you a little bit more freedom. But I kind of wish the game just, it played the EGAD stuff while you were moving around, instead of stopping the game to let him talk to you. It just got to me, man. It happens so much more frequently than I remember. That game is so much more hand-holdy than I remember. EGAD won't let you do shit without talking to him. It got to me. So yeah. So that is a I admittedly did not remember it being as bad as it was. It's pretty bad. So yeah, that honestly, if you don't like stuff like that, like if Fi is the worst part of Skyward Sword, and like Navi is the worst part of Ocarina of Time, this game will also drive you crazy. Yeah, no, totally. I don't want to say it's as bad as Fi, but it's pretty bad. Oh my god, I'm so hot. It's still 100 degrees here. Mainly it's not as bad as Vegas. Vegas was over 110. But still. Oh my god, it's so hot. I'm sweating so much. So yeah, other than that, I still think Luigi's Mansion 2 does have some good stuff. I feel like the level design is still pretty decent. I like all of the mansions. My least favorite is still the Clockwork one. I don't know, there's just something about the Clockwork setting that I find not as interesting. But I like the themes. It's kind of like an Alien to Aliens thing, right? The first Luigi's Mansion, you're in one mansion, and now in Luigi Mansion 2, you're in mansions, right? There are multiple. That's a logical explanation, and I like some of the mansions. I think the starting mansion is very traditional. Reminds me a lot of the first one, but it's got some decent missions. It's a very tutorial mansion, but like I like the blacklight stuff that it introduces. The strobe bulb I think is a pretty good mechanic. The spider boss at the end is fantastic. I do really like that boss still. Is it the best boss in the game? Probably, but yeah, no, I think Luigi's Mansion 1 is all around. The first mansion's pretty good. The second one might be my favorite. The second one is like the treetop one, and I like the theming. I like how right where you start off on the outside, you have to go clear the water in the first mission. Then the second mission, you try to go inside the tree and you get blocked. So you have to go find the ghosts who stole the pinwheel to the door. After that, you go inside and you have to go get the key to get to the top. And then the Polterpup steals the key. So you then have to, like, use your knowledge of the mansion to go chase down the Polterpup and catch him to get the key back. And then there's the staircase boss, which I know people hate the staircase boss. I honestly don't mind the staircase boss. I'm not going to say it's like a geniusly designed boss. I'm not going to say it's amazing. It's definitely it's like a spectacle the first time you see it. Because it's basically just a memory game. But gosh dang it, do I kind of like the staircase boss. I don't love it. And yeah, the final phase, the actual boss fight just being a staircase is kind of dumb. But I don't mind the staircase boss. And yeah, I think the tree mansion's actually pretty good. It has unique ghosts. In the third mission, you have to go save a toad. And as you're escaping with the toad, you fight these, like, 3 women with mirrors. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. I wish, you know, I know some people hate the ghosts in 2. That, oh, they're too boring. That, right, the ghosts in 1 had more personality. That there's no portrait ghosts. And, you know, I understand the complaint about the portrait's ghost. But, like, the difference between, like, the specters in the first game and, like, the greenies in the second game, it's actually not that big of a difference. Honestly, the generic ghosts in 1 versus 2, no, they're actually not that different at all. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I get the portrait ghost thing, right? Portrait ghosts, yeah, totally. Because I do kind of wish each mansion got its own unique ghosts that was themed for that mansion, right? Because the only one that really does is the treetop mansion. It gets the 3 mirrors, the ladies with mirrors, which is actually a pain. That fight's a pain in the ass. I died like twice on it because when you die on the boss, you have to then restart the entire mission. It was the only time I died in the entire game. But yeah, but no, I do like the treetop might be the best mansion. From there, you go to the desert clock tower. It's okay, actually. Like, I remember not liking it the first time I played through it. Playing through it again, I'm like, no, this is fine. Again, kind of the same rules. You have 2 separate missions where you're trying to get the 2 clock hands to eventually work your way up to the boss area. The Polterpup steals one of the boss hands, so you kind of have to track back through the mansion to go find them. And then, yeah, and then my biggest problem is the final boss of the desert temple, or the desert clock. The final boss of the desert clock is it's just an enemy gauntlet. There's a clock with 12 hands. You have to defeat 12 waves of enemies. It's just super generic, honestly. I think that's the worst boss in the game. Because it's just not that special compared to, you know, everything else you've been doing. Again, if there was, like, a unique ghost or, you know, unique enemy combinations, I'd be like, sure. But no, it's just like, oh, here's 3 greenies. Here's 5 greenies. Here's 2 reds. 3 purples. 3 blues. Actually, I don't even think you fight blues during that fight. I don't think you fight yellows either. Yeah. If it's not obvious, I just kind of like Gatorade flavors. The ghosts in Luigi's Mansion games are just referred to by their colors. Or at least that's how I'm referring to them. But yeah, no. And then you get to Mansion 4, which is the ice one. I like the ice one a lot, actually. It's shorter than all the other mansions. But again, it has some fun ideas. Like, okay, so in the treetop one, you have balloons, where you can attach balloons to your vacuum, and you can float around using the balloons. That's actually very fun, and you know, it's a good creative idea that expands on what the first game does. Yeah, the ice mines has portals. You know, like portals that you can like jump through. And that's really fun. The game has some interesting puzzles where like you get like a bucket that you can attack, that you can pick up. But you can't bring the bucket through the door, but you can bring them through portals. So you have to like move things around mansions to like get a bucket into one room, or to how do you bring fire into a different room? When, you know, you have to do it through portals. It's actually kind of clever. And yeah, I like shit like that. There is the first mission is about escorting a toad. The second mission has you exploring it to find... What are you looking for in the second mission? Oh, you're trying to find these, like, the ghosts are harvesting these red crystals. So you have to go get some, right? You have to go to the red crystal mine and stop their operation. And then the third mission is, right, it's one of those, like, where you have to explore the mansion again to go track down some enemies who are stopping your progression. And then, boom, final boss. Now, I remember the final boss of the ice area sucked, because he's basically, it's different, right? Instead of, like, right, where you're fighting ghosts, or, you know, you're fighting, like, a spider or whatever, you're instead on a sled, and you're, like, sliding down this endless pit, and you have to shoot bombs at it to, like, break off the different chunks of ice. On my last playthrough, my third playthrough, I remember that boss being such a pain in the ass. 10-ish years later, honestly, it's not that bad. The third phase does not give you much time for fuck-ups. Like, if you fuck up, like, 3 times, you basically have to restart the phase. But it doesn't kill you, which is nice. But yeah, other than that, I actually think, yeah, the final boss, it's different, right? Variety is the spice of life. I like the Ice Mansions thing. And yeah, the Ice Mansion, it is shorter than all the other mansions. It only has 3 levels. But I feel like they make better use of the space. Right, the missions are longer. They give you more time to explore. Right, you're covering greater areas. Egad talks to you less. I don't mind the 4th mansion being shorter. And then the 5th mansion is huge. The 5th mansion is like a treehouse mansion. It's like this giant treehouse. It's called the treehouse. It really feels... The 5th mansion has always felt like a museum to me. Like, there are, like, different museum exhibits, right? There's, like, a medieval exhibit. There's a polar age exhibit. There's a desert exhibit. There's a jungle exhibit. There's a train room, a space room, a pirate room, a hot air balloon room. It's always felt like a museum to me. And genuinely, the 5-2, the mission where you have to go through, light up each of the portals, and rescue some toads, is, I think, my favorite mission in the game. I just love exploring the museum area. I wish the final mission, 5-5, gave you more time to explore the museum, just fully, once you have everything unlocked, but instead you're, like, on a timer, because if you let the ghosts wait too long in a room, the world ends, and you get an instant game over, and that sucks. And yes, that did happen to me. So I guess maybe I died 3 times. But it's just fun to explore, man, and I kind of wish because there's so much, right? If the 3rd mansion's smaller, it's because or if the 4th mansion is smaller, it's because the 5th mansion is a lot bigger. And there's just a lot of interesting things going on, you know? It's a lot of fun. It uses all the elements, right? Flaming coals, flaming wood, balloons, buckets of water. And it has you transporting them between the different areas. It's all just very well done. And yeah, I really like the 5th mansion. I completely forgot that there were 2 boss fights in it. Like, I remember the night boss fight, which I do like the night boss fight. It's not complicated, but I love the spectacle of it, fighting the giant knight. I think that one's neat. In some ways, the bosses of Luigi's Mansion 2 remind me of Zelda bosses. Like, they're more puzzles and, like, using what you learned in the mansion to defeat them. Okay, that's not the best example, but, you know, shit like that. I think they're fun. So yeah, but I've completely forgot you fight Boolossus as well. Yeah, the fourth mission in the mansion, and the fifth mansion. Let's just call it the museum. I'm just gonna call it the museum. In the museum mansion is Boolossus. They call it Big Boo, but it's Boolossus. It works the same way as Boolossus does, where you have to break it apart and collect the individual pieces. And I thought that was very fun. I completely forgot about it, but yeah, no, totally. And then the final boss fight is fine. It's not anything that special, but, it's fine. It's definitely not as complicated as the one in the first game, which, you have to fight Bowser, and God, I got killed to him, and because he does, like, 20 damage per hit. It was, like, a lot, when, like, every other enemy is doing, like, 5 or 6. But yeah, no, I did do it. And yeah, I beat King Boo, and yeah, I did that earlier today. So yeah, even though it has problems, and definitely the problems are more apparent on my more recent playthrough, I still like Luigi's Mansion 2. I definitely miss, the only level I got all the gyms in was the Treehouse Mansion, the second mansion. That one I remembered where all the gyms are. Other than that, I basically forgot about the rest. So that's definitely something you gotta worry about. Alright, so that's definitely replayability. There's a Boo to collect in every level. So that's definitely... I missed... I don't know. I'm gonna guess I missed like 10 of them. Out of like 25-ish. Because I never replayed a level. Like, once I beat it, I was like, no, I'll replay later. And then there are, of course, bonus levels as well that I didn't really play. And then there's the Scare-Scraper stuff, which, I'll be honest, I kind of wish they had added some new stuff to this game. I don't know what I would have wanted them to add. Maybe something with the Scare-Scraper, but because the Scare-Scraper kind of sucks, let's be honest here. And yeah, I will for this port, this is not... I think the port looks good, right? Visually, it's not as good as Luigi's Mansion 3, but I still think it actually looks pretty good. But it is... they're charging $60. And, like, normally, when Nintendo, like, ports games like this, like, when they ported Metroid Prime 1, the original, right, when they fully remastered that game, and they only charged $40. They probably should have charged $40 for this. But no, this is a full $60 game. They should not have charged $60 for it. I was willing to pay $60 because I did want to replay the game, and I didn't want to play on the 3DS. Because again, I do like it. I like it a little less now than I used to, but I still like it. But no, I definitely... Gosh. Ugh. I definitely see some of the problems with it now. And yeah, it should have been 40. At like maximum, it should have been 40. But yeah, no, if they had added some new stuff, that would have been cool. Because there are, I complain about there not being enough unique ghosts in mansions. There are a ton of unique ghosts in the Scare-Scraper that they should have used in the normal game. Like, there are so many, like, Scare-Scraper ghosts. Why didn't you just put these in the normal game? Why are they exclusive to a multiplayer mode on the 3DS? Like, the whole reason the game has missions is because it's a mobile, right? It's a portable game. You're supposed to pick up the game, do a level on, like, the train on the train, and then, by the time you get to work, hey, I've done one level. Even though, again, some levels take, like, 30 minutes. Just, at a casual pace. So, why they added a multiplayer mode, I have no idea, but they did. And, yeah, I don't plan on touching it. Like, really, I did a little bit on the 3DS. It's the same multiplayer, it's basically the same multiplayer mode as was in Luigi's Mansion 3. There's just not enough there. And yeah, they didn't really add anything else, so... Yeah, I mean, I liked it, but I do want to replay 3 now, and I'm probably going to, so we'll probably talk more about that next week. So while I was playing through both these Luigi's Mansion games, I was listening to YouTube videos. What did I listen to? I listened to a few videos by Billiam, this guy Billiam, where it was like, hey, let's talk about those Animal Planet documentaries about, like, dragons and mermaids. Hey, let's talk about the fake Discovery Channel documentary about Megalodon, and how, you know, this documentary, this fake documentary that they never say is fake, probably is one of the leading causes, or, you know, is one of the, not leading causes, but is one of the many contributing causes to why people believe in the flat earth nowadays. And honestly, I kind of see it, because you better believe it tricked my father back in the day. I remember specifically talking about the mermaid one and the Megalodon one, not the dragon one. No, actually, now that I think about it. Shit, disconnect. So, yeah, so I watched those, and, you know, those were interesting. I watched a few other random YouTube videos. And then there's this guy called Design Frame. And for months now, I've been seeing his video about security breach. Do I know specific? Let me see what that video is specifically called. It's called, it is called, come on, where is it? Fundamentally broken, and I don't mean the bugs. Something about security. Right, it's a case study of security breach. Concealing problems within problems. Oh, because I think I got to that from Wicked Wiz, who did release a Garten of Banban video, and I watched that. And I saw the security breach video, which I've seen, again, it's been recommended for months. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll listen to that. And from there, I listened to their Cuphead videos. In their they have 3 videos on the Cuphead DLC. And I think they're all really interesting. I do disagree with them on some points, specifically in the first one. Again, each of these are like 2-hour videos. In the first video, they talk about how the main point of the game is mastery, right? The game's intention is for the player to play the boss fights, to master them, and get the elusive S rank, you know. And that basically they've added, by introducing these new DLC weapons, they've added power creep to the game by putting in weapons that are stronger than pre-existing weapons, which means, like, oh, if they're putting in these new weapons, then players will never use the old ones, because the new ones are just inherently better. And I disagree with them for 2 reasons. One, again, they say the main point of the game is mastery. I wholeheartedly disagree. The main point of Cuphead is not mastery. The goal of the game is not to get an S rank. The goal is just to beat the boss and to beat the game. Mastery is the secondary objective. I think he has it backwards. I think he has the game backwards. The point, right, he says that mastery is the primary objective. And, you know, he doesn't even really mention beating the game. He gives it, like, he briefly talks about it when he talks about the simple mode and how you can't beat the game if you play on simple. But no, the primary goal of the game is to beat the game. Mastery is your secondary objective. And I can back that up because if mastery was the primary objective, then you would be unable to beat the game unless you get an A+ and or S rank in every boss fight. Right? If mastery was the objective, then I would not be able to beat the game getting nothing but C ranks. Because guess what? You can beat the game by getting only C ranks. Because guess what? Mastery is not the primary objective. It is a secondary objective. You know, something for completionists. For people who do want to do everything in a game. Right? It is not the primary objective. Yes, are the designers designing with mastery in mind? Yes, but that is not the primary goal. Again, I am not doing a well-researched, video compared to his. This is just me talking off the top of my head. But, yeah, I disagree with him on that front. And I think the power-ups, right, having these new overpowered weapons, are not feature creep. They're instead, as you get farther into the game is just by its nature going to give you better weapons. Right, the game already does that by default with weapons like the Lobber and the pea shooter, the charge shot. Right, those are better weapons than the starting weapons because you're later in the game. You've completed more levels, you've made more money, so as a result, you get the better weapons. Right, it's character progression. But, he completely disagrees and says that every weapon should be balanced so that way they all feel the same. And the other thing is that, okay, if mastery is the goal, and you're mad that this character is too OP, or that the heart ring is too OP, or that the new shooting weapon whose name I'm forgetting is too OP, then don't use it. Right? You don't have to use these weapons. Of course, he argues in the video that why wouldn't I use these weapons, right? If the designers put them in the game, then they intend for me to use them. And yeah, of course. And if you think they're too OP and they shouldn't be in the game, then just don't use them, right? There's a saying that goes, designers have the right to make a game as difficult or as easy as they want. That is a true statement. But what is also true is that players have the right to make a game as hard or as easy as they want it to be. Both of those statements are true concurrently. Like, it actually does kind of annoy me that Cuphead's accessibility is they add in a simple mode, right? And it's like, oh, it's a simple mode. It's for players who, need an easier challenge. But you can't fight the final two bosses of the game if you beat all the bosses on simple mode. You have to beat them on whatever the normal mode is. I can't remember what it's specifically called. And yeah, I think that's just a bad design decision. I know they say, oh, well, the simple mode's for practice. Then why doesn't the simple mode feature every phase of the boss? And you know what? And as a result, players have the right to make a game as hard or easy as they want. So if someone wants to mod Cuphead to make it so that way you can beat the game on simple, then they have every right to do so. So yeah, because I think of things like Nuzlocke, right, where people play right, they think Pokemon games are too easy, so they add in these self-imposed challenges to make the game harder, right? You can do the same thing with Cuphead. Oh, can you beat Cuphead with only the starting gear, no badges, and no supers? And like that the game is designed in such a way that that is possible. So yeah, no, if you don't like it, just don't use it. It at that point, it's a you problem, right? If you don't like that these new weapons or this heart ring are too OP, and you're like, oh, well, I have to use it because it's powerful, that's a you problem at that point. That's not a game problem. That's a you problem. I think of... Okay, I know I've been talking a lot about this book recently, but in Sid Meier's memoir, when developing Civilization 2, he wasn't the lead developer, it was somebody else whose name I can't remember. And when he saw the prototype for Civilization 2, Sid Meier looked at this guy's work and saw that he had added in a cheat mode that allows players to, go in and add cheats, modify certain aspects of the game, and Sid Meier was horrified. He was like, oh, this is going to ruin the game, because people aren't going to want to play it legit, they're just going to cheat their way through everything. It goes back to that saying, right, given the chance players will optimize the fun out of a game. He was horrified of people doing this in Civ 2 when they added a cheat mode. And then he admits that he was just wrong. That once the Civ 2 did come out and people started using the cheat mode, right, they created all these brand new challenges and all, right, they made the game, some people made the game easier, but some people used it to make the game a lot harder as well. And he had never even thought about that. And right, the cheat mode allowed it for easier modding. And it was it's things that kept the game alive and healthy for many years. And yeah, it's all real interesting stuff. And yeah, the same thing applies in Cuphead, right? Like, you know, he sees these new weapons as like, oh my god, this is like a terrible mistake that's ruining the game. When it's like, no, it's entirely on the person who uses them. But all that is to say, I think they were still very interesting videos. They do raise some great, right, even though I disagree with them on that fundamental level, I still do think they raise some great points. The stuff about the game's language and how Cuphead is just bad at explaining stuff to players, completely agreed. Because when I first saw pea sugar in the game, I read the description where it's like, oh, your first parry is automatic. And my thought was like, oh, your first parry of the level is automatic, right? So if like you were gonna get hit by a parryable object, the parry will automatically happen. But it only works the first, it's like a free hit, like from specifically the parryable object, and then it doesn't work again. The item is just badly explained. Or then the stuff about the heart and the twin heart, they only lower your damage by 5 and 10% respectively. I had no idea. If I were to guess, I would have thought those numbers would have been doubled. I would have assumed the heart would have lowered your damage by 10%, and the twin heart would have lowered it by 20. No, 5 and 10% is like nothing. Like, I totally, like, oh my gosh, yeah, the game is totally terrible at explaining things. He's completely correct there. And he raises a bunch, again, it's over a 2-hour video. It's a 2.5-hour video. So yeah, he raises some great points. And then so I listened to that while playing Luigi's Mansion 2. And then I listened to its 2 sequels. One, he spends 2.5 hours talking about one of the boss fights, the dogs, right, the dogs in the airship. And then he spends another 2 hours talking about the cow that turns into sausages. Neither of which can I remember, even though I listened to a 2-hour video of him saying the name over and over again. Can I actually remember either of the names? Those videos I actually have no complaints with. I think he goes big into detail about like design and level design and progression of levels and like what makes good level progression. And it's all real interesting. And yeah, I have no complaints with those videos. Like the second one on the cowboy that turns into sausages, that video is only like a week old. It's pretty new. And yeah, the channel's only got like 2,200 subscribers, and I'm like, no, you should have way... I know, right, I know stuff like this isn't for everyone, but I was like, you should have way more subscribers than this. Because, yeah, no, these were all 4 of these videos are really good. I recommend the Cuphead stuff, especially the security breach one's pretty good. So yeah, Design Frame, a pretty good channel that I definitely gave a subscribe to, and I definitely recommend. But all that's the saying, I watched 6 hours of him talking about all the problems with Cuphead, and I came out of it being like, I want to replay Cuphead. So after I beat Luigi's Mansion 2 today, I started playing Cuphead again. I only finished the first world, but yeah, no, I'm even with all of its problems, because I still really enjoy Cuphead, and yeah, even listening to all these problems with the game, gosh dang it, do I still really enjoy Cuphead. Like, it's one of those games where on my first playthrough, I was like, oh god, I hate this game so much. And I don't even think I ever actually beat it on my first playthrough. I didn't. But, like, once I knew my shit and I did a second playthrough, everything just went so much better. Man, I got good on my second playthrough, and now that I am good, man, do I really enjoy that game. Flaws and all, man, do I really enjoy Cuphead. Am I using all the OP weapons that he talks about? No. I admittedly just haven't gotten the coins to unlock them. I mean, I could probably bum rush the triple heart the heart ring if I really wanted to, and, the one crystal shot thing. But I'm like, I'm in no rush. You know, I'm just doing... I got the chance to go get the heart cookie, or the astral cookie, and I was just like, nah, I'll do that another time. So yeah, I started playing Cuphead. I don't really have much to say other than that about me actually playing it. But just, there's my background of like, hey, why I'm... there's like 15 minutes of me explaining why I'm playing Cuphead again. And why I didn't start Luigi's Mansion 3. God, it's so hot. Oh, God. And we've still got like another hour, or 40 minutes. Shit. So the last thing I got to talk about in games, my mother has been playing Tears of the Kingdom, where I have no idea where she was the last time we talked about it. I'm going to assume she had beaten the Queen Gibdo the last time we talked, right? She struggled with it over multiple days to beat the Queen Gibdo. She had to leave the dungeon, go get some food, go get some better gear, an electric weapon, and yeah, she was able to beat it. From there, she ventured around a little bit, basically went from the bottom left hand of the map, made her way up, back to Lookout Landing, went over to the left side, or the right side of the map, I mean. Actually went around Kakariko Village. Like, she completely missed Kakariko Village. She made her way up to like the Death Mountain Tower, but didn't actually go into Goron City. She eventually made her way down and into Zora's Domain. She did the Zora's Domain quest. I had to, you know, help her out a little bit, specifically to find the bridge where you have to shoot the teardrop or the water drop. I had to help her with that. She was able to climb up to the water dungeon. She actually did the water dungeon fairly easy, right? And actually, I have noticed the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom are a lot easier for her than the Breath of the Wild ones. I think part of it has to do with her having played Breath of the Wild now. But yeah, it's definitely, things are going a lot smoother. She got through the dungeon super quick. With very little input from me, honestly. The only thing I really had to help her on was the spinning thing. There's like this one like button that's spinning really fast. And I had to like help her with, you know, I had to explain to her how to do that with the bow and arrow, where you can use the slow time on the bow and arrow. Other than that, very little input. She got to the boss fight, and I think she beat it on like her 5th try. On her like 2nd try, she was able to get it to the 2nd phase. Then 2 more. I think she basically on the 2nd try she was able to get it to the 2nd phase, fairly easily actually. And then the next 2, 3 tries, she was able to get it to the 2nd phase, but kept dying because when it comes to the 2nd phase, right, the Muktarok. And my thought was like, oh, the Muktarok is the hardest boss. I don't think it is the hardest boss. I just think it's the most annoying. And basically how she beat it was death by 1,000 cuts. Right? She's too slow, and she loses track of it too easily in the 2nd phase when there's all the muck. But when you first hit it, during the 2nd phase, and technically during the 1st as well, when you hit the boss with, like, Sidon's water, there's, like, a brief window where he's laying on the ground where you can get, like, 2 hits on him before he goes running away. And, you know, he goes swimming off into the muck during the 2nd phase. So she was basically just knocked him down, like, 15 times. Got those 2 hits on him. And then he ran away, and she just prepared for the next time she could hit him with Sidon's power. Right, she was never able to catch up to him and, you know, make him trip or anything like that. It was literally just death by 1,000 cuts. Slow and steady wins the race. And yeah, it eventually worked. Right, 2 hits at a time. She was eventually able to just slowly chip away at it until she defeated it. And yeah, Muktarok actually went down pretty easily. A lot easier than the Queen Gibdo, that's for sure. And yeah, from there, she went up to the Akala region. She went up to the Akala region. She gave me the controller for like 2 seconds, and because she's been avoiding the underground this entire time. She has done nothing in the underground, and she's done nothing in the Sky Islands. She went up to one of the Sky Islands for like a brief minute, got some fairies, and that's it. She hasn't been back to one of the Sky Islands since. She hasn't done a single Sky Island shrine. She hasn't gotten a single treasure map from the Sky Islands. Nothing like that. And she's outside of like this quest to get the camera, where you have to go underground at the very start of the game, she's completely avoided the underground. And I keep telling her, like, eventually I keep calling it the underworld. I'm like, eventually you're gonna have to go down into the underworld. So when she handed me the controller for like 2 seconds, I just found the nearest underworld pit, the one over there in Akala, next to the battle talus, and I just chucked her straight down. And I was like, oh, whoops, looks like you're in the underworld now. Oh, guess there's nothing you can do about that. Oops, oops. And then, of course, I land, and it's like, oh, shit, there's a Frox right there. Oh, shit, gotta run you away from that, and yeah. But she went into the so she was trapped in the underground. She could have warped out at any time, but she didn't. She went and found the Terrytown mine. Like, there's the abandoned Terry mine. She found that. She went in... She basically went up to the Akala Lake. The underground Akala Lake in the northeast corner of the map. Got into the little island in the middle. Got shot up through. Fought the Yiga clan up top. And I want to say that's where she ended off. Yeah. Because she did go down. She went through... She went to Laureline Village at some point. This was earlier. This was way earlier. She went to Laureline Village, did the memory, but completely ignored the quest to defeat the monster forces. But yeah, she was up in Akala, and I think that's kind of where she ended. I think she ended off in, like, Akala. I think she's planning to go to Death Mountain next. So, yeah. But, you know, that was... So that's kind of what's going on there. I'm sure there's tons of other stuff I'm forgetting. She got stuck. There's the shrine where you get, like, the little attacking robots that you can attach, like, flamethrowers and shock emitters to. And she got stuck on that one for, like, 45 minutes, she told me. Because she'd, like, set up the robots, put the little spikes on them, send them out. And then instead, the enemies would just ignore the little spike robots and just kill her. Right? They'd all just run up and kill her, and she'd, like, instantly die. But, you know, she eventually figured it out. So yeah, I can't think of anything else. I'm sure there is something else she's done. But again, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of stuff she doesn't tell me. Because, you know, I only see so much. Specifically, the big shrines and whatnot. Like, the temples. So next up, I guess let's talk about television. So, My Adventures with Superman. We got two new we have 2 episodes to talk about. Episodes 7 and 8? Let's just go with 7 and 8. So, 7 is, right, we see, right, Clark was kidnapped in the previous one. We see him up in space with Kara, and Kara's like, oh, we're rebuilding the Kryptonian Empire. Right, let me show you a flashback of Krypton. Right, oh, we're trying to make this. And then Clark shows her, like, hey, this was my home on Earth. And she was like, oh, poor naive Clark. Don't you see they're making you weak? And I'm like, no, they're not. They're showing you love. Because she's very clearly lonely. And right, that explains why she developed a crush on the first man she ever met, aka Jimmy. But, you know, they go through there. There's you know, a bunch of references in this one. They go to Thanagar, and you find, right, even though Thanagar's, you know, a thriving part of the Empire, when you get there, you find out the planet has been completely destroyed. And it's like, oh god, something terrible happened. Which I hope that eventually leads to Hawkman and Hawkgirl showing up and wanting revenge on her in like the next season for destroying their planet. God, I hope that's what happens. And right, eventually Clark has to like broker peace or whatever. Honestly, can I be honest? I don't give a shit about Hawkman. I only like Hawkgirl from the DC animated shows. Hawkman, I do not give a shit about. Partially because of that, but also because of fucking 0 Hour. Like that, fusing all the Hawk people together is just so dumb. And for some reason, that just made me realize, like, oh, I will never like this character. Same thing, I think Dark Knight's Metal doesn't help either, because I want to say they reintroduced him there. And I'm like, oh, wow, I don't give a shit about this, like, at all. Dark Knight's Metal. What a fucking... I have so many complicated feelings about Dark Knight Metal. Or Dark Knight's Metal? Whatever. But yeah, so from there, you know, they go back to Brainiac, because it's like, oh, isn't this your dad, Zor-El? No, this is Primus Brainiac. I really like the Brainiac design. I think part of what so most of the time, when I think Brainiac, you know, I think the Superman animated series, stuff like that, right? He's mostly like a humanoid robot, right? He's I guess that would be an android? Right, he's mostly got like a humanoid shape. Yeah, he's usually like green and purple. He's got the 3 dots with the lines. Right, the Brainiac symbol. But, you know, that's usually what I think of Brainiac is. This Brainiac feels very robotic. Right, he's got this weird triangle head that floats. All of his fingers float. He's very big. Right, he's wearing this like cloak. But I'd like to think that like beneath that cloak, he's just like rubble from machinery being like barely held together. I don't know, we're probably gonna find out on Sunday. But no, I like this Brainiac design a lot. And the other thing is, even though he doesn't look human, at least not that, like there are elements obviously, he doesn't look human, but he you know, normally, right, like robots like Ultron and Brainiac are usually like these stone cold killers, right? Like they're robots, they don't have feelings. But honestly, my favorite interpretations of these characters are when you give them feelings. You make them more human than they may like to admit. When, right, the part they hate about themselves the most is the human aspect. This is why you know, for all of the problems with Joss Whedon's Age of Ultron, I love his interpretation of Ultron. Right? Given his interpretation, James Spader is his voice. Because, you know, he's basically, right, Ultron in that movie wants to be a cold, unfeeling, robotic killer. But he's not. He's very human. He's got daddy issues. And he hates that about himself. But that's who he is. And I really like that. I like that element of him, right? He's more human than he likes to admit. Because, you know, he's supposed to be the next evolution. But he's very human. Right? He spends 5 minutes on the internet and decides that humanity needs to be wiped out. And honestly, what's more human than that? Right? I also think of Alpha Beta from the show Inside Job. Very similar there. But no, I think, right, this Brainiac in this show, right, he feels more human, right? Like, the way he, like, sees Clark's power, and he just laughs with delight. He's like, yeah, this is the weapon I'm gonna be able to use to rebuild the Kryptonian Empire. Like, he, like, giggles with joy. And that's just fair. Like, he's this cold, killing robot. But there's just something, like, human about that, that I'm like, yeah, no, I like this interpretation. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it, right? What's going to happen next. But I think that's very interesting. So that's the first part of the episode. So that was episode 7, right? Eventually, during that episode, Clark ends up fighting a Thanagarian, a Green Lantern, and a Parademon. The Green Lantern is awesome. I love that how it uses the crystals on its body to, like, add to the constructs. That's really cool. So that's fun fight, and at the end of the episode, he gets captured. Supergirl ends up running away, finding out that she's the one destroying all the cities. Oh god, that mask. Oh, that Inkling mask is horrifying. And right, she, like, goes out and she's like, what am I gonna do? And then the episode ends with Jimmy, Mala, the Brain, and Lois showing up. And so episode 8 is all about how they got there. Basically, Jimmy pays $2 million to hire Livewire. You know, that's the last of his money. He hires Livewire to break into Star Labs and steal a spaceship. And he gets Major Mala and the Brain to help them out. I'm glad they brought these characters back, because I really like they bring up in the episode how they traveled the multiverse and realize that most other versions of them are actually not that nice. Right? There's like a Dalek version of them. And it's like, okay, that's kind of fun, because I like the show's interpretation of Mala and the Brain. Right? They're good guys, and that's good. And I do want to point out that this episode released on June 30th, the last day of Pride Month. And it's very fitting, because this is a very prideful episode. Right? We find out that Mala and the Brain are married. So we have a gay marriage, and we have a lesbian relationship. Because we find out that Livewire and Heatwave are dating. And even though they have, like, this fight at the beginning of the episode, we find out it's all fake, and that the heist was originally supposed to be a double-cross heist, that they were using Jimmy and Lois as a distraction to go actually steal stuff from Amanda Waller. And then, right, Lois gives this speech about how she messed up with Clark, and, right, how much she loves him. Of course, she doesn't say Clark, she says Superman, and blah, blah, blah. You know, I feel like anyone with 2 pence of a penny could figure out Clark is Superman, but whatever. You know, maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. But I like, right, she gives the speech, and Livewire is like, you know, love matters more than anything. You gotta fight for what you love. I'm fighting for my girlfriend who I love. And so, right, Heatwave and Livewire come back to save them, and they blast off into space and meet up with Kara, and that's where the episode ends. Of course, what happens next, we'll have to wait until Sunday to find out. But it's really good. And yeah, it's a very, like, it's a soup, right? You got a gay couple, you got a lesbian couple. It's perfect. It was the perfect way to end Pride Month, is what I'm going to say. So that was a lot of fun. The heist itself, you know, it's fine. Right? Because they're worried that, like, they've been abandoned, but no, they haven't. And, yeah. It technically, in the grand, like, compared to the previous episode, and probably the next episode, this is kind of like our calm before the storm. But I had a good time with it. So, yeah. Other things... so, speaking of DC Comics, the Suicide Squad Isekai came out. They released the first 3 episodes. As of this moment, I have only watched the first one. Again, Trip, Luigi's Mansion, I just haven't had the time. Because I'll be honest, I didn't have great internet in Vegas. It was real laggy, and, like, I was just like, I'm not gonna deal with this. But I watched the first episode, and, you know, it's Isekai. Hey, guess what? Amanda Waller has opened a portal to another dimension, and so she's sending in Harley, Deadshot, King Shark, Clayface, of all people, and Peacemaker to, you know, go and take over the bitch. Right? They're going to go into this other dimension, and they're going to take the bitch over. I think it's an interesting cast. I actually don't hate what they're doing with Clayface, because at first, like, if you showed somebody the character design, they would not think it's Clayface, because, you know, he's like this, like, pretty boy guy, because, you know, Clayface's backstory is that he's a failed actor, and yeah, they're kind of rolling that basically his default, he tries to stay in his, like, default Clayface form, as like this just like kind of actor, like this like skinny little actor twink. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm okay with that. I know some people want to see the big raging clay monster, and you do see it a little bit. But I'm fine with twink Clayface, sure. I'm fine with RT game Clayface. But yeah, no, the first episode, not much happens. They go over to the other world, their helicopter gets shot down, they kill some orcs, and now they're gonna go meet the king or whatever. It's like this floating like sky island place. It seems fine, you know. I'm surprised it's not dubbed. I would have figured, like, with like a release like this, Warner Brothers, you know, it's naturally subbed. But I would have figured Warner Brothers would have also just got it dubbed. And no. But, you know, I'm fine with that. Yeah, get Sung Won to voice Clayface. That would be... Nah, actually, honestly, he could do King Shark as well. I think either way, he'd do a good job. Because it's Sung Won, man. And we just got off a Dungeon Meshi, which is so fucking good. I need to finish it. And yeah, and I think that's all the TV I've watched. I have not watched any of The Boys. I think the season finale of The Boys was today, and I have not watched any of the season. I'll get around to it eventually. Because I also didn't watch Gen V, the show, the other show. I'll get around to it eventually. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm in no rush on it, honestly. So, yeah, I think that's all the TV stuff I got. I think. Did I watch anything else? Not that I can think of. Movies, we're going to be quick on this one. I did see A Quiet Place Day 1. So, Quiet Place, thoughts on Quiet Place movies. I think the first one's decent, you know, it's got an interesting premise. There's like, I want to say there's like only 50 words of spoken dialogue in the entire film. Yeah, okay, sure. You know, I think right, it's written well enough. It's got an interesting premise. And, like, I know some people will be like, oh, these monsters are stupid, right? Like, oh, they listen to right, they attack sounds. But wouldn't they just be attacking each other because they make sounds themselves? Why is it when, like, they blow up a car, don't all of them, like, swarm towards the car? Right? Like, there's all these, like, problems. And, you know, I'll be honest, I don't care about the problems as long as they're consistent with them. Right? If they say, like, hey, the monster cannot hear you breathe or your heartbeat from a foot away, then I expect that to be consistent for all the films. Like, I would think that they would be able to hear your heartbeat if you're standing right next to them. But, you know, as long as they're consistent with the rules they set. And I'll be honest, I have no idea. Even though I think the first movie is fine, I don't actually remember much of it. The second one, I never saw. I was like, you know, the first movie was fine, but there wasn't enough there to bring me back for a second one. But this third one, why did I come back for the third one? Kind of the same reason I came back for a second Purge movie. Because, you know, the Purge has flaws. It has plenty of flaws. But it's still got, again, as long as the premise is interesting, as long as you're consistent with your rules. And, right, the first Purge movie, you're in, like, the suburbs, you basically stay in one house the entire time, and it's like, no, I want to see, like, chaos break out in, like, a city. So that's why I went back for the second Purge, because, you know, I want to see chaos break out in the city. And it's the same thing for the third Quiet Place. Like, the first one, you're mostly in, like, the woods, as they're, you know, trying to figure everything out and whatnot. For a second one, for, you know, a second or third one, take us into the city. See what happens, right, when all this shit breaks off, how chaotic everything goes. And this one does some of that, right? There are definitely elements where it's like, yeah, we're in the city, we see how it all breaks out with these things falling from the sky, and how it just goes to absolute shit. How all the little things in the city that you don't think about, right, that make all these sounds. Like, there's a good moment where, right, the government comes on and is like, hey, the creatures cannot swim, so we'll be evacuating people by boats on the South Harbor. So everybody starts marching towards the South Harbor, and since they're all doing it at once, I'm like, oh, that's going to create some noise, right? That's going to create a lot of noise. And yeah, sure enough, eventually just people's footsteps get loud enough to attract the monsters. And yeah, there's some moments like that. Is it Lupita Nyong'o? Lupita Nyong'o? The main actress, I think, does a fantastic job. Right, but she's great. She's a great actress in basically everything she does. I think it's a good choice to give her cancer. That kind of, no matter what, she's not making... Right, even if she survives, you know, the scenario in the movie, she's not going to last long. And, right, that allows them to make some interesting creative choices. It kind of allows... Right, like, most people will be worried about, you know, making it to escape. Right, to get out of the city. But she's not. Because she knows she's going to die regardless. And right, she's going to go off on her own terms. They give her a cat. She has an emotional support cat. And the cat, great. The cat's great. They do, spoiler alert, they do put it in some perilous situations, but it does not die. So, yeah, if you're worried about cat death, nope, doesn't happen. Right, the cat makes it out in the end. Perfectly fine. But yeah, there's some okay moments. I'm gonna be, like, would I go out and recommend it? If you've never seen one of the movies before, no. As, like, an action, like, is it scary? Like, is this, like, a horror movie? Not really. Like, it like, jump scared me once or twice. But not really. But, like, I don't, like, there's nothing offensive about it. It's just there's nothing really special about it either. I definitely could, you know, I talk about consistency. Again, I don't remember much of the first movie or stuff set up. I've never seen the second one. But I would not be surprised if this movie introduces a lot of inconsistencies when compared to the previous ones. If, like, the things they describe here just, like, completely contradict stuff that happens in the first two. That would not surprise me at all. I know they do pay off something, because in, like, the first movie, they're like, the monsters kill people, but they don't eat the bodies. So it's like, what are the monsters eating? And in this one, you find out they're eating, like, honestly, they remind me of, like, eggs, if I'm being honest. And, like, is this, like, a pre-force for, like, an oncoming invasion or something? They don't really say. But, there, you know, there's some interesting ideas here. There's some decent set pieces. I'm not going to say it's anything that special. I still recommend Inside Out 2 over this in a heartbeat. Especially, oh my god, don't go see Despicable Me 4. If you have a choice between seeing Inside Out 2 or Despicable Me, go see Inside Out 2. If you've already seen Inside Out 2, just take your kids to see Inside Out 2 again. Despicable Me 4 is not worth it. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I saw. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, because I haven't seen anything else. So I guess that takes us to, you know, the next thing. So the reason why we didn't do anything last week, I was in Vegas. I took a road trip out to Las Vegas. You know, started here in El Paso, went up through New Mexico, through Las Cruces, Albuquerque, Grant, Gallup, stopped in Flagstaff to have Culver's. We don't have a Culver's here, so I've had Culver's for the first time. Actually, you know, not bad. It reminds me of, like, a Freddy's mixed with, like, a Five Guys. Like, because the burger patties remind me more of Five Guys. But the rest of the restaurant reminds me more of, like, a Freddy's. Especially because they're big on ice cream. Not bad. I'm not going to act like it's anything that special, but I could totally see them making one here and it making a lot of money. Man, I had that in Flagstaff. Went up through Kingman into Vegas. I was in Vegas for like a week. Okay, a little less than a week, but yeah. So that's why I was in Vegas last week. So the big thing that I wanted to do, because I was mostly out there just to visit family and whatnot, but the big thing is they're in the Luxor. Right, the big pyramid out in Vegas, there's a Titanic museum. Like, Titanic, the experience. And I've always wanted to visit, because that's where they have the big piece. You know, the largest piece of the Titanic that we refloated and brought to the surface, put it here in this museum. And so that was the big right. I remember reading about the big piece, like reading like a news article about it or something years ago. And I've always I've wanted to go see it, go see this Titanic museum. So it was like, while I'm here in Vegas, you know, for the first time in like 3 years, I'm going to go down to the Luxor, I'm going to go see the big piece. And, you know, the rest of the museum. And yeah, you know, the museum was pretty cool. It's got a lot of good stuff about the Titanic. They kind of they go over like, hey, they've got a lot of, you know, artifacts from the ship. They go over like the history of the ship, why it was built, why people are on the ship. And right, they go through like first, second, and third, right, decks and whatnot. They're, you know, class passengers. We see a first class cabin, a third class cabin, right? They've got artifacts and all that. And then, you know, they eventually get to the sinking. They have basically an artificial iceberg that you can touch just to feel like how cold it is, and, you know, neat stuff like that. And then, they give you a card at the very beginning where it's like, oh, this is the passenger you are. And then at the end, you'll be able to scan the card and find out if you lived or died. And I was a third-class male named, like, Thomas or something like that. And I'm like, oh, no, I didn't. There's no way I made it off this ship. Yep, sure enough. Myself and all the people I went with, none of us made it off. So, yeah. But, you know, it was real neat. And then, you know, I got to the big piece, and I was just, like, blown. I was like, I knew the big piece was big. I didn't realize how actually big it is. But, yeah, I just walked into the room and was just like, wow. Like, it just... And then I spent, like, just 10 minutes just staring at the big piece. Because, God, it's beautiful. And I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Titanic guy. Like, I'm not obsessed with the movie or anything. I've only ever seen the movie, like, once, like, 15 years ago. Like, I'm not huge into it. I just think it's neat, you know? So, you know, that was all cool. And yeah, I had a good time at the museum. You know, it took, like, maybe, like, 2 hours. I spent, like, 2 hours going through the whole thing. You know, just kind of reading through everything, spending time, enjoying the atmosphere and whatnot. Yeah, I had a good time at the Titanic Museum. I'm glad, after years of wanting to do it, because it's always one of those things whenever I go to Vegas, I'm like, this time I'm going to go to the Titanic Museum. And I never do. And now, finally, I'm like, yes, Titanic Museum. So that was like the big, and I did that in like the second day I was there. So it's like, okay, well, I've still got another like 4 days here. What else am I going to do? And, you know, you do a little bit of gambling, you go see a movie, you know, all the casual stuff. I spend time with family playing board games. But the other thing, so you've probably heard of this guy, Keith Lee. And when I first heard about Keith Lee, it was because he was talking about this pizza place, Frankensons. And he talked about it, and he was like, oh, this is a great pizza place here in Vegas, a hidden gem. And, you know, he talked about how great the place was. And then, like, the news report came out a few days later, how they were just swamped, how everyone was showing up because of Keith Lee, and how good it was and everything. And I was like, oh, you know, that all sounds that sounds very interesting. So when I got to Vegas, I looked the place up. And it was like, oh, wow, it's only like 15 minutes away. That's not far at all. Especially for like Vegas. I don't even have to get on the freeway. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I'll just order some pizza from there. So yeah, I got some pizza from there. Got some garlic knots. They're not bad. The pizza reminds me a lot of a local place. There's a local place that I'm not going to say the name of, but they're very similar style, you know, similar like cheese and crust and everything. So that's not bad. The garlic knots were fantastic. They load up the right? Like there's a saying that when a recipe says like, oh, put like 2 tablespoons of garlic. No, you put 4 tablespoons of garlic. In fact, don't even measure your garlic. You measure garlic with your heart. And that's kind of what the garlic knots at this place feel like. They measure the garlic with their heart. And as a result, yeah, no, they're pretty good. They're big, they're fluffy. I really liked their garlic knots. So yeah, that was the pizza. The pizza was good. It's not my favorite pizza place. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the garlic knots were fantastic. Yeah, I see why Keith Lee would recommend it and everything. But that got me thinking, like, oh, well, you know, if I'm at this Keith Lee recommended place, and this place is close by, I wonder what other places he recommended that were close by. So, the next day, I want to say before I went and saw the Titanic, I was like, oh, there's this place. We were talking, and I was like, oh, well, we need a place for lunch. And I was like, oh, hey, someone made a Google map. I found it on Reddit. Someone made like a Google Maps document that's like, hey, here's every place Keith Lee visited. Here's his recommendations, right? It's all color-coded. And here's a link to his video of like what he tried. And so I found this map, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to use this, right? Find the places that are close to us, and we'll just kind of go there. So we went to Truffles and Bacon Cafe. And I saw they have a bacon jam burger with mac and cheese on it. I do like a mac and cheese burger. There's like, they're kind of like a rarity, right? Like not many places do it. And they're kind of easy to fuck up, if I'm being honest. Like you can definitely fuck it up. But I think they're interesting, right? And so seeing this place had a mac and cheese burger, I was like, you know what? I probably won't have another one of these for like a year, so sure. Because so few places do them, I only do it like once a year, if that. So I was like, you know, sure, I'll try a mac and cheese burger. If I'm going to be honest, it was a lot. The burger, it just has so many flavors on them. Yeah, some of them are complimentary, but I'd be lying if I said they all were. It's a big bite, because they put a big slab of mac and cheese on there. And I'm sure like, if I just got, like, a bacon jam burger with mac and cheese on the side, I would have been perfectly satisfied. I would have been like, yeah, this is pretty good, right? I probably would have given it, right, your 10 out of 10. But altogether, it was just too much. Because I think the mac and cheese was good. The bacon jam was fantastic. But it just, altogether, it was just too much. It was just too much. I also tried from their truffle fries. They're really good. I like truffles. I think I've only ever had, like, real truffle, like, once. But truffle oil was pretty good. Like, you can find truffle oil. Not too hard. It's not too hard to get truffle oil. And yeah, I think truffle, right, when used right, it's pretty good. And these truffle fries were fantastic. Right? Like, I could see myself going just to get the truffle fries. But the burger, I wouldn't, I'm sure there are better things to get there. The burger was just it had too much going on. But, like, it just getting, like, the burger was cooked fine and everything. But just, like, a burger with, like, their bacon jam probably would have been fine. From there, later on, we tried Fire and Smoke, Smoke and Fire. It was like a barbecue place. On the recommendation from, you know, Keith Lee was they have a blueberry chicken sandwich, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Blueberry chicken sandwich, sure, you know, I'll try that. And yeah, that's what I got, and it was good. It reminded me of a Thanksgiving sandwich. If you've ever had like a Thanksgiving sandwich where, you know, you take 2 pieces of white bread and you put ham, or not ham, turkey. You put turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, and then use like a cranberry sauce to make a sandwich. That's honestly, like, even though it didn't have like stuffing or mashed potatoes on it, the chicken reminded me a lot of like that type of sandwich, right, with the breading and everything. Like, I think it was able to like get a similar flavor, and then instead of a cranberry sauce, they use a blueberry sauce. It was good. Like, I did like it. I wasn't blown away by it, because I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of a Thanksgiving sandwich. Like, I've had them before, and I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm also not the biggest fan of turkey. So I will say I probably like this more than a Thanksgiving sandwich. And there's a blueberry jam in fresh blueberries as well. So yeah, I thought it was decent. Yeah. And then I tried one other place. Oh, Stuff My Turkey. So Stuff My Turkey was another one, a little farther away than all the others I just mentioned. And it was from there I got chicken and waffles. It's 3 pieces of chicken, 3 waffles, and some sweet potatoes, right? Some candied sweet potatoes. And the chicken was good. It wasn't anything that special, right? It wasn't like... I like more breading on fried chicken, and this one was pretty lightly breaded. But yeah, it was fine. And then I normally don't like sweet potatoes, but you know, you gotta live a little. You gotta try new things. And their sweet potatoes were pretty decent. But the waffle is perhaps the best waffle I have ever had. You know, I'm not going to say perhaps. I'm going to say it is the best waffle I've ever had. I was blown away by how good that waffle is. It's very cinnamony, very, very heavy on cinnamon and vanilla. It's super sweet. Super sweet. But my God, is it so good. I wish I could make a waffle even half that good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that might be the best thing I had the entire time. The waffles from that place, like, would I recommend the chicken and waffles? Yeah, but even just the waffles, 10 out of 10. Oh my God, those were so good. Yeah, Stuff My Turkey in Vegas. Holy shit. What else can I say? Seriously, amazing. It's one of those things where it's like, now I'm gonna have to start experimenting to see if I can make something even close to that similar. Because that was so good. So yeah, and yeah, I think that was it. Oh well, you know, I went to a bunch of other generic places, you know, places I've been to before, you know, local places, you know. But, you know, I wanted to highlight the Keith, just because that was like a fun thing. I at least wanted to hit up 3 different places. The fact that we hit up 4 was really nice. What else? But the other place, so I talked about, right, how Frankenstein's was good, but it's not my favorite pizza in Vegas. My favorite, the last night I was there, before I had to drive back the next morning, in Green Valley Ranch, in the Green Valley Ranch Casino, they have a place called Pizza Rock. That's my favorite pizza place. No question about it. That is my favorite pizza place. They have so many different styles, right? You could go there every day for a week and get a vastly different pizza each day. And they're just as good as all the others, right? They are so good. I think their pizzas are well baked. All of their ingredients are top-notch quality. At least for my taste buds, they taste perfect. I love them, man. They're a place that, like, I had to hit up. So we did right before I left. Oh, I had In-N-Out Burger again. Because, you know, I can only get that there. And that place is pretty good. I still like it. Admittedly, this is probably the least good In-N-Out Burger I've had in a while. Just because, you know, I only get them every, like, few years. It used to be once a year. But now it's even less than that, sadly. This is my first time having them in, like, 3 years. And yeah, I was kind of underwhelmed. Yeah. One day there'll be one here, but that's not an answer. But yeah, no, it was whatever. But yeah, no, Pizza Rock is so good. I got a Napoleon. Did I get a... What was it? I don't remember what it was called. It was... Whatever it was good. It was a Rosa, maybe? That Rosa rings a bell, so maybe it was that. That was really good. That was probably the second best thing I had. But yeah, so after that... What... Did I do anything else? I mean, again, there's a lot of family stuff that I'm just not gonna... Right, I'm not gonna bore you with. I'm forgetting something. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. Oh yeah, birthday. It was my birthday. Oh, woo, birthday in Vegas. I'll be honest, I don't, like, you think, like, oh, did you go out? Did you hit the club? Did you go drink? You know, did you black out? No. I'm not a big drink. I'll be honest, I had a few drinks, but not that much. Like, I'm not a big drinker. Right, because when you go to Vegas enough times, I'll be honest, the novelty kind of starts to wear on you. Like, you've seen everything. You know, it's not that special. And, like, I haven't seen everything in Vegas, obviously. Right? I mostly try to avoid the Strip when I'm there. Because I think there's as many good places off the Strip as there are on the Strip. In fact, some of the places on the Strip are just shit. But, like, yeah... Did I go to Area 15? No. But, you know, there's always next time. So yeah, that was the Vegas stuff, and yeah, that was why we didn't stream last week. That's why I didn't birthday last week. Yeah, or that was what I did on my birthday last week. You know, nothing too extraordinary. And then, you know, you gotta make the 12-hour drive back. Okay, 12 and a half. Because I know, again, even though I'm just on the tip of Texas, that doesn't change the fact that New Mexico and Arizona are still fucking massive. Oh my god. What did I say? We had another 40 minutes left. So I guess that takes us to the end. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Let me pull up my prize machine. Which one is it? Alright, let's stop. Alright, so from the shell out machine, we should pull a nameplate? Yep, a nameplate. Ability chunk. A drink ticket. Some cards. And another nameplate. Wow, it still blows my mind that I haven't even touched. Like, I've gotten so many nameplates, and there are still so many more to go. Oh my gosh. So, what's coming up here in the near future? Nothing. Other than, you know, more episodes of this, I have nothing planned. No. No, why would I? Wow, we have all of this? You know, I know that the most recent update added a bunch of new gear. And even though I feel like I haven't bought that much stuff, it feels like I have everything. Man, like, I really do not feel like I've bought that many things. And yet we've got all the... And yet every week we go into the shops. And it's just nothing. Admittedly, 1 out of 7 isn't exactly that good of a... like, test. You know, isn't that good of a size sample. Yeah. Oh, I got the last... Did I talk about how I got the last Minecraft achievement? So, right, we had been trying to get one of the heavy cores to make the mace. I had been struggling for days. But, so, after the 1.21 achievement stream, I couldn't get the mace. I was struggling to get the heavy core. Then I did another trial chamber, got nothing. Did the next trial chamber, I got one finally. And then I got another one immediately after. So I got 2 back-to-back, and then I was able to get the achievement. I might have a clip somewheres. I'm gonna guess this one. So I build my way over to the vault. Step back to eat some food. Sure enough, heavy core. So there was one. Oh, I found a trial chamber. Yeah, this is in trial. Oh, wait, it's wide to pause. Yeah, there was a dungeon inside the middle of a trial chamber. I thought that was neat. Yeah, so we have that. And then I think it's this. I'm going to assume it's this one. So this was the same. This is like a room over. And sure enough, second heavy core. So I got that. Took it back. So, okay, so on the achievement picture for the achievement, I can't remember the achievement's name, but it's basically deal 50 hearts of damage. And they show a picture of the heavy core being used on a Ravager here. And so I was like, I don't know if it needs to be done against a mob that has more than 50 health. Because, like, I could see it being like, oh, if you use the heavy core on a creeper, even though creepers only have, like, 10 or 20 hearts. You know, 20 it's 10 hearts, 20 health. Right, you need, even though you're doing more than 50 damage, it won't count because the creeper only has 20 health. So I was like, you know, just to be safe, I've got a bunch of ominous bottles. Let's go do a raid in a village. And then when the Ravager shows up, I'll just kill that. So that's exactly what we did here. I build up. I want to say we built up a full tower of 64 here. Find the Ravager. Give it a swing and kill it. And then... So this is me, right? Trying to find the last enemy in the raid. Alright, it's over there. And this is like a minute later. Boom. I win the raid. Fireworks go off. And... boom. Overkills the achievement. So there we go. That's all 3 of the achievements in 1.21. I'm amazed they didn't add an armadillo achievement to, you know, make a wolf armor or put a wolf armor on a wolf. That seems like such an... I know it was technically a 1.20.5 thing. They could have added it then. They could have had a wolf armor achievement. So yeah, but hey, you know, I got the overkilled. I've got some fun pictures of me with the mace. Hey, look, Luigi's Mansion. And boom, there we go. I'm gonna actually close out Splatoon. Go over to news. There it is. Summer Nights. Oh, there are 6 masks? Wow, that's a lot. And then, of course, there's the nameplate. Clear here to get the Summer Nights items. And yeah, let's boot up the game one more time. So, yeah. Anything else we got to talk about this week? Not really. Not really. I don't know. I enjoyed my time off. I'm still actually on my time off. I don't actually go back to work until Monday. I think it's Monday. Whatever the 8th is. Because this is it. This is like the... I only... Right, if it isn't obvious, I only take a vacation like every 3 years. So I've still got plenty. So, right, I used up basically 2 weeks of time off. And I've still got everything else. Actually, I say that, but not the first night we were there, but the second night we were there, I get a call from work that's like, hey, that document you sent in, you need to go back in and rewrite and add some stuff to the document and get it turned back in tonight. Right? It was like, hey, go in, fix the document, and we need it for the morning meeting. And the email had been sent at 2 o'clock. And I want to be clear. This is something I told, I turned in the document and was like, hey, here, take a look at the document. Tell me if it needs anything before the meeting, that I'm not going to be at. And then they got back to me at the last possible minute and was like, hey, I need to get this done by tonight, right? We need this for the meeting tomorrow. So I didn't notice the email until midnight, and then I had to get the document done, add the new details to it. I emailed them back hey, is this good? At 2 a.m. And then by the time I woke up the next morning, it was yep, that all looks good. You're all good. So I did actually work a little bit over vacation, but it's all good. It was more of just God, I wish I didn't have to do this. If I had noticed the email at 2 o'clock, it would have been fine. I would have been oh yeah, boom, I can get it done then, no big deal. But because I didn't notice it until midnight, that was where all the problems came from. That was what fucked me over. Because everything comes at a cost. Sadly. Oh god, and then the presidential debate. Just sitting there and listening to it, and oh god. Again, I just think of that meme, oh, gun to your head, Biden or Trump, the gun would go off. Yeah, I get it. Because, I'm shitting on Biden. I want to be clear. I know I'm shitting a lot on Biden because I think he should drop out and let someone else who's, younger, who can put Trump in his place take over. I am not pro-Trump, right? There seems to be this conflated idea that, oh, if you say you hate Biden, that must mean you like Trump. No, that one thing does not equal the other. I fucking hate Trump more than anything. He is the end of this country. Right, the 4th of July was yesterday, and I kept making the joke oh, enjoy the final 4th of July. Because no, seriously, it might be the final 4th of July. So I kept making, oh, enjoy the final 4th of July. It's the last one we're ever going to get. Because, again, Trump might win. And the Supreme Court stuff. Oh, my God. So I'm tired. I'm so tired. That's why I've been putting all my time into Luigi's Mansion and Cuphead. Because I can just ignore politics and play a fun little Luigi's Mansion game. No worries whatsoever. That only works for so long. Oh, I rewatched Teen Titans Go to the Movies. I rewatched that. That's really good. That movie is... The Teen Titans Go, the show, sucks. It's an awful show that I actually hear gets better in later seasons, because at some point it gets so bad that it actually kind of circles around and becomes good again. And, you know, they actually write some jokes eventually. But the movie is hilarious, man. I saw a YouTube video that, like, scrolled up in my feed about it and was like, oh, you know what? I kind of want to watch that movie again. So, yeah, I sit down. I think that was during the first Luigi's Mansion. Because most of the Cuphead things I watched during the second one, but I think I listened to that during the first game. Yeah, that sounds right. You know, it was a little 50-50. You know what? You know what else I did listen to? We're not going to talk about it this week. We'll talk about it next week. Dimension 20's Never Stop Blowing Up. I listened to the first episode on the drive back from Vegas. And then I know I'm pretty sure the second episode is out. I have not listened to it, but I will. By this time next week, hopefully I'll have listened to the second and third episode. And we'll talk about that then. But that, you know, I've been going on for a while now, for at least another 10 minutes. I think that's where we're going to end off for tonight. We'll be back next week with we got the Splatfest. That'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully I'll have played through Luigi's Mansion 3 again, and we'll talk about how good that game is. Because I remember that game being really good. And yeah, anything else we need to talk about. I can't think of anything else, but you never know. You never know when there is other stuff to talk about. So yeah, with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.